Hello, aspirants. It has been a heavy week. The monsoon is howling outside. Half of you are running on chai and printouts, and the mains hall in August is closer than the calendar tells you. I know the quiet pressure of this phase, when every day is one more day of trying to hold your ground. This examination will shape the shape of your life, and preparing for it quietly changes you before the result does. You are in issue number 45 of the Sociology desk. Today we take two live events and turn them into scoring answers for the Sociology Optional. One event on tribal displacement in the Ken-Betwa region, and one on a monsoon building collapse in Mumbai. By the end of this episode, you will know which concept to sync with which story, which thinker to name, and how to write an answer that lands in the top band and not the middle. Let us begin. First topic. Tribal women in Madhya Pradesh have restarted the Chita Andolan, or the pyre protest, against the Ken-Betwa link project. This is not a routine land dispute. The protesters lie down on mock funeral pyres near the Barana River in Panna and Chhatarpur districts, and their slogan is "Nyay do ya maar do," that is, give us justice or let us die. For the optional, this event sits at the intersection of two units in Paper 2. Social movements in modern India, subunit environmental movements, and tribal communities in India, subunit integration and autonomy. That is where you map it in your answer. Now let me explain the core concept, because you may be wondering how to sync a story like this with an answer. The idea is called the Subaltern class approach. Ranajit Guha argued that when the poorest and most excluded people revolt, their revolt has its own political language, which the elite state and elite historians cannot read. It is not the language of writ petitions and grievance cells. It is the language of the body offered on the pyre. Look at this event through that concept. The district collector says 90% of families have been compensated. The tribal women are on the funeral pyre. Both are correct in their own register. The state sees a compensation grid. The Adivasi sees a way of life about to end. This gap, this failure of the two registers to speak to each other, is what Guha named subaltern politics. In your answer, do not narrate the protest. Name this gap. The thinker to anchor your answer on for this event is Ranajit Guha. The exact concept is the subaltern class approach, or the autonomous domain of subaltern politics. The work to attribute this to, if you want a quotable line, is elementary aspects of peasant insurgency in colonial India. Here is a formulation you can carry into the examination hall. As Ranajit Guha argued in elementary aspects, the domain of subaltern politics is neither a residue of elite politics nor its imitation. It possesses its own grammar of revolt. Say that line, attribute it correctly, and the examiner recognizes immediately that you know what you are talking about. Bring one more thinker for depth. David Harvey on accumulation by dispossession is a clean Western counterpart. The Ken-Betwa project is 44,605 crore rupees, 24 villages, and 4.6 million trees. That is enclosure of the tribal commons. Harvey gives you the political economy layer that Guha's cultural insight does not. Now put your examiner hat on with me, because this is the highest value slide today. Two candidates answer this question. One writes an average answer, scores around 14 out of 20. The other writes a top answer and scores 18 or 19. What separates them? The average answer opens by defining what a tribe is. It then narrates the Ken-Betwa protest for 400 words. It ends by saying the government should be more sensitive. 14 out of 20. The top answer opens with a structural claim. It says, the paradox of Indian development is that its most spectacular infrastructure requires the erasure of its oldest inhabitants. Then it names the concept. Ranajit Guha's subaltern class approach reads this as insurgent politics, not a rehabilitation dispute. Then it uses the event in 2 sentences, not 15. Then it invokes a Western counter-thinker, David Harvey, and a counter-perspective from Andre Bataille. Then it closes with a forward-looking synthesis. M.S.A 1996 and Forest Rights Act 2006 must precede compensation. That is an 18 or 19 answer. Remember the refrain, the current event is your evidence, the theory is your destination. One probable question you should be ready for. In the light of the ongoing Chita Andolan against the Ken-Betwa link project, critically examine the adequacy of the Indian rehabilitation regime for scheduled tribes. 20 marks. Architecture C, 250 words. If this question comes, you already have the concept, the thinker, and the counter. Second topic. On Sunday, the 6th of July, a 4-story chawl collapsed in the Mankhurd area of Mumbai. 6 people died, 5 of them children. The land belonged to the district collector. The structure was illegal. The rain had crossed 200 millimeters in 24 hours. And 13,800 dilapidated buildings in Mumbai are still waiting for redevelopment. For the Sociology Optional, this belongs to Paper 2, Industrialization and Urbanization in India. Subunit, Slums and Deprivation in Urban Areas. The concept to sync this with is called manufactured risk. Ulrich Beck, in his work on the risk society, said something very sharp. The hazards of the modern age are not accidents of nature. They are produced by the very institutions that claim to manage them. Apply this to Mankhurd. Was the building brought down by the rain? No. The building was brought down by the fact that the Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation, the BMC, and the district collector could not agree on who could demolish it. It was brought down by political pressure from local representatives that blocked eviction. It was brought down by a redevelopment queue of 13,800 dilapidated buildings that never moves. The rain triggered the collapse. The city produced the collapse. That distinction in your answer is worth marks. 2 thinkers to name. First, Ulrich Beck. The concept is manufactured risk in a risk society. The work is Risk Society, published 1986. A quotable formulation you can carry. As Ulrich Beck argued in Risk Society, the hazards of late modernity are politically produced by the very institutions that claim to manage them. Second, an Indian thinker who takes you deeper into the specific case. M.S.A. Rao on urbanization as an incomplete social process. Rao's insight is that the Indian city takes the migrant's labor but does not grant the migrant urban citizenship. That is why settlements like Janta Nagar in Mankhurd exist. Vertical growth without tenure, without building compliance, without recognition. Rao gives you the Indian ground, Beck gives you the theoretical name. Examiner mode again. 2 candidates. Same question on urban deprivation. One scores 14, one scores 18 or 19. The 14 answer describes the collapse for 200 words. Quotes the death toll, says slums are a problem in India and demands better governance. It never names a concept. It never names a thinker. The 19 answer opens with a claim. The Indian metropolis produces its slum and then produces the disaster that visits its slum. It then names M.S.A. Rao on uneven urbanization, uses Mankhurd in 2 sentences as evidence, and pivots to Ulrich Beck for the manufactured risk frame. It closes with a structural prescription, unified urban land governance, and slum rehabilitation with rights recognition for the informal tenant. This is a 10-mark short note, so 150 words is enough. The instinct is to write more. resist it. Density beats length. And the current event, once again, is your evidence, not your topic. The theory is where you are going. One probable question. Elaborate Ulrich Beck's idea of manufactured risk with illustrations from Indian urban governance. 10 marks. Architecture A, 150 words. Mankhurd sits inside your first two sentences. The theory carries the rest. Let us pull it together. Today we covered two events, and each event gave you one primary thinker and one clean concept. For the Ken-Betwa Chita Andolan, Ranajit Guha and the Subaltern class approach. For the Mankhurd Chawl collapse, Ulrich Beck and manufactured risk. Bring a Western pair or an Indian pair on top for depth. Harvey for Ken-Betwa. M.S.A. Rao for Mumbai. The way you write it, open with a structural claim, not a definition. Name the concept, name the thinker, attribute the work. Use the event in one or two sentences. Add a counter thinker. Close with a forward-looking synthesis. Do this consistently and your 14 becomes an 18. That is the entire arithmetic of the optional. That is where we stop today. Before you close this, remember, this preparation is not a sprint of brilliance. It is a slow, unglamorous act of turning up every single morning to the same desk and refusing to leave. Rank is what you get. Momentum is what you build. Keep the momentum. One last thing, and please stay with me for a minute here. Everything you saw on screen today, the sharp analytical hooks, is only the surface. The full answer block for every event, the model 250-word answer, the answer skeleton, the flashcards, the quotation arsenal, and the examiner notes is prepared for you every single day. It goes only to subscribers of the Sociology Desk. This is a paid subscription, and I want to be honest with you about that. It is paid